Awesome. So thank you, everyone. Welcome to today's enablement and discussion about GitLab and value stream management. This is an exciting topic that is evolving and emerging in the market, and it's one in which we're seeing interest from various analyst firms. Forrester is on point looking at value stream management as a way to differentiate in a way that they think that software development is going. And I want to educate and share with you what we know and where we're going with value stream management as well. Our agenda for this morning's brief enablement, I don't think we may use the 30 minutes, but we may go faster. I want to explain the difference, right? What does the term value stream management mean and where does it come from? I want to talk about the benefits of it and where we see the benefits. How do we do this? How do we see GitLab playing and supporting in companies trying to do value stream management? We have a couple of demo videos that we've put together to showcase how it would work, and we have time for discussion. So let's dive in and get started. And for those of you who've been involved in organizational transformation or the adoption of continuous improvement and continuous improvement practices, the idea of value stream mapping is a well-known technique and approach. It's often done when organizations are embarking on lean transformations, whether they're doing Lean Six Sigma or just lean in general. And the intent of a value stream map, and I pulled these graphics from Wikipedia just as a quick reference, but the intent of the whole idea is to understand what are the inputs and what are the steps in a transformation in which the input or the product that goes into a value stream or into an assembly line, of how does that get transformed then into an item of value that comes out and is delivered to a customer. And typically they're done, when I've done this in the past, I've got my Lean Six Sigma green belt on the shelf here. I've done this before where you draw it on a wall, you draw it on a whiteboard, you put Post-it notes, and it's very, very hands-on activity of mapping and developing the map. But when it gets to be you get more advanced, you start to do it in PowerPoint and picture, and graphics like that. But the idea is to really understand how does things flow. Not only how they flow, but understanding how much effort and time goes into doing the process. If we look at the process down below, how much time goes into doing the work, but also how much time gets spent waiting for one step to another. And a lot of time, what people discover when you do this is so much work, so much value gets trapped in the waiting stage that you start to see the bottlenecks and you start to remove those bottlenecks to accelerate, to go faster, because the goal then is to optimize for the delivery of value out the other end. So value stream mapping is an activity. It's something you do when you're trying to improve the organization. Forrester and others are starting to talk about something else that has the same acronym of VSM. And this may be confusing. They're talking about value stream management. And I've paraphrased some things that Forrester has written to define this, and they've provided us some input into this as well as to how they're defining it and looking at it, which is very similar to the mapping, but it's bigger. It's about understanding how you map and optimize and govern the delivery of value flow, and I've highlighted it here below. And as customers are embarking on DevOps, because DevOps is rooted in the principles of lean manufacturing, that's rooted in the principles of continuous improvement, there's a ton of overlap here. And when Forrester tried to describe how they see what the characteristics and capabilities of value stream management would be, they talk about integration, interoperability, having a common data model to bring things together. They want to be able to visualize and map what's the value stream look like and how can you see the flow along, what are the processes and who's working on it? What's the lead time that's going into this? They want to be able to govern and manage it and have visibility into how you're planning and what's happening as ideas or as value goes through. And think of value as code, right? Think of value from the software development lifecycle as we're delivering value. And so if I were to ask any one of you whether or not you think GitLab is a value stream management tool, whether we can help people with value stream management, I might get a bunch of different answers. I'd open it up. If anybody has a perspective on it, I'd love to hear your perspectives. Let's make this a little bit interactive on this call. What's your take? You can put it in chat, or you can come off of mute. I don't care. Either way works. What do you think? Are we doing this? Do we have a? Are we value stream? So Simon's saying, yeah, we have cycle analytics. We absolutely have cycle analytics. That's huge. Anybody else? I'm interested. Based on what I've shared so far, how do you see value stream management? Oh, Adam's, but does cycle analytics really serve this? I think it's a great question, Adam, and I'll talk to that in a second. Anyone else?
I think if we took the definition of how Forrester defines it, it specifically visualizes the whole flow. I absolutely think we do.
Yeah, Hayden, I'm with you, and the more I've dug into this and gotten deeper into this, we have, I mean, think about our ability with our common data model and understanding the full delivery lifecycle. The fact that everything in GitLab were a single application is incredibly powerful, and we have the ability to visualize. We can do quite a bit of visualization. Let me show you where it's not only where we are, but where we're going as well. That gets to be really exciting. So let's double click. So when we look at this, again, going from a Forrester perspective, Forrester's their view, and I can show you the details. They have a paragraph for each of these elements, but what are the benefits and the capabilities that a VSM tool should do? It should connect the people, bring people together to work so that we can see the work and they can align. It's about integrating and bringing together DevOps tools and having clear visibility and reporting across the pipelines. Being able to, understand the analytics and focus on the value and strategic planning. And if I were to be so bold as to check these off, I would suggest that, well, we do these things. We may not do them the same as everyone else. We may not do it the same as someone might draw it on a whiteboard, but we certainly have these capabilities and deliver these benefits to our customers. And so as a team, on a product marketing side and the product team, Dan has been working really closely, with Victor and, from a, how do we demo, how do we show this, how do we describe these capabilities? Because we think we do this, we know we do this, we know we have these capabilities. And there's an open issue, and it's in the tracker, and we're managing against it, but we're working to create and to highlight how can we showcase and visualize the value stream that is embodied in the SDLC, not only just the work we're doing, but the value that they get at the other end of it. And I'll talk about that in a second. So and these are mock-ups that we're working to put together. You'll see these, I pulled these from the issue to help illustrate this, but on the left, you can see how we're starting to use labels as a way to illustrate, what time it's taking on a certain time frame in different steps, assuming that dev or QA is the process, how much time is spent waiting versus how much time is spent doing the work. And on the right is another kind of interesting view where we're able to break out the work versus the waste. Waiting time and other things are considered to be waste from a value stream perspective, and you want to try to reduce waste. And so this gives a person managing their pipeline and managing their business an opportunity to go, gosh, if I look at January on the right, why did we spend so much time waiting for acceptance testing? Do I have a problem I need to solve? If I can figure out how to go faster, how to address the bottleneck on acceptance testing, acceptance testing is purple. It only takes a little bit of time, but we spend all this time waiting. It gives the team, the people managing the work, a chance to try to fix things to go even faster, which is their goal. Here's another set of screenshots and drawings from this as to where we're going and how we're trying to pull this together. First off, out of the gate, a lot of what we do is via boards, right? We're going to start by looking at this from a value stream board the way we have it somewhat on the right here is a kind of a mock-up, and we're working, showing some, we have some demos. I'll show you the demo video in a second that shows how we can do it with boards today, with elements of this in place. And so the boards, because the boards can be able, you can manage and visualize the work, it becomes a natural way to define what's my value stream and to track the flow. So let me go one step further, and there's two videos. The videos, you can find the links to the videos in Slack. I'm not going to play the audio. Maybe I will. No, I can't play the audio the way I'm sharing. So I'll play this, and you can pull the slides and play them as well. But basically what we're able to show is how a issue board, in this case, one that's focused on value stream, can showcase the different steps in the process and how we can then start to track how work flows through those different stages in the process. So it's a way to visualize the work. It's a way to process and track the flow. And as work moves from one board to another, we're capturing the cycle analytics time, the analytics time that helps to understand where the work really is. You see, one of the differences between the way we will approach this and solve this and the way we do solve this is we solve this based upon the real data of the real work, as opposed to other, when other people try to do this and integrate to lots of disparate tools, they're at some level, they're abstracting the work and they're abstracting the metrics from either tracking stuff in Jira, or they're pulling other different data together, and bringing that data together and synthesizing is going to be really hard. The power of our single application and the way we solve this, it makes it so much easier. A little longer demo on the right, which is focusing on how we show business value. And I'm going to skip ahead because this demo does a little bit of setup to show how we get to it. But I mean, the setup is we're looking at a business that's running, how they're selling different pieces of electronics, and they're making offers, and they're suggesting what's the most likely thing you should buy next. And so they've pushed a canary option out of how to do it better. And you'll see how, because we're able to manage and track business metrics in our monitoring, we can add custom business metrics to our solution. So in addition to being able to manage with Prometheus the performance and the response times of the web application, we're able to also pull data back about Kubernetes and how it's performing. We also have these business metrics we can look at and we could pull in. In this case, we're able to show that the canary, which is the proposed change, the order values are all considerably lower. Same number of orders, but the value is down. Something is wrong. Whatever this new change is that we've pushed forward is causing a negative impact to the business. This is value stream end to end in a way that is incredibly compelling. And based upon looking at this, if I was running the business, I would say, let's revert back. Let's not push that change forward. And so as we go forward, we're going to participate in Gartner's, their starting coverage of value stream map management. We are participating. These demos were part of what we've done as we're working on this as we go forward. We expect to be part of their upcoming report where they start to define this space. And you're going to hear more about this as we go forward. I want you to be aware of it. And that's why we focused it for this enablement, to open the conversation, to introduce you to the concepts of what we're doing and where we're going, and to get you excited about this, because this is really powerful stuff that's going to help our customers who are trying to manage their full life cycle really take it to the next level, assuming and again, it's going to assume that you use GitLab for the full life cycle, but this is the value of the full life cycle. And with that, I have time for discussion and Q&A. I knew I wasn't going to take 30 minutes, but I wanted to hear your feedback. I wanted to put this in front of you. Is this exciting or what?
Hey, John, this is Nico. Can you hear me by chance?
I can, Nico.
Cool. Quick question. You just said if I was running the business, I'd want this kind of data. in that statement, when you say, if I was running the business, who is this intended for? What level, what role, what persona? Because what I've also experienced is at a certain level, VP, C-level, they want what they call executive dashboards, right? And so where does this live, and who gets excited about this in the business specifically?
Well, Nico, it's interesting. I agree that if you're talking to a CIO or a business executive, perhaps this isn't the data they need to see.
Correct.
I'm not suggesting this is a business or an executive dashboard, because I don't think an executive is going to make a decision that, this merge MR, this code change is going to go forward or not, right? They're not in the weeds of that. But what they want to do is they want to empower their product teams. The whole idea of having a product team focused on shipping product faster, if we talk about DevOps, and this is something, a lot of people have written about. I wrote about it on devops.com a couple of years ago, about the shift from project orientation to product, where teams are focused on how do they build and enhance and improve their product over time. It's not like they build a project and they're done and they walk away from it. Because we're talking about a product team, they're focused on the product team should be focused on the business value. So in that graphic, in that demo video that I was showing, I would think that the product team that is working on the product is looking at their business value of what their system delivers. And when they see this view, they know that whatever the change was that they implemented is the hypothesis, the experiment of that change is false. It's an A/B test. They pull it back. But there's a need. I think there's absolutely a need for an executive, a way for executives to see this. At this point, this level of value stream management, I think, is really at the product team level, though.
And so I can add a little bit to that too. At version 1, we actually sold this. It's a very obtuse kind of theory that you have to explain to them to get them to understand. The executives will like to see, hey, we can find where you have issues within your product teams and help them move faster. So they'll care about that messaging. And so, yep. John, to you and Ashish and greater team, I think the messaging that we have around this is the important part of it, because it's a very difficult concept for the product teams to understand. They kind of look at it and go, okay, cool, I get it, but I don't really know how I'd use it. And so we talked about this a lot at version 1. And I don't think Aster or Victor are on the call right now, but they were the SAs for it, and they would have a very difficult time getting people to understand what the entire concept is. Now, today we are, 4 years later, so there's 4 years more of understanding of what this is from Gartner and Forrester and everybody else, right? So there's more knowledge around it, but it's still a topic that people don't seem to grasp as well as you think they would.
Totally get it. And Mark, you're right. I hope, one of the things I hope happens is, as Forrester and others start to write and cover this space more directly, is more leaders and teams will start to look at this and say, yeah, we need to do that. For me, at least, because I had a background of actually doing value stream mapping and leading and running Lean Six Sigma kind of projects, I see, for me at least, that background helped me to make the connection, to see it, and to get pretty excited about it. There certainly is going to be education we're going to have to do around it. I think this is a case where, Brendan's team and our ability to help customers be successful, there's a huge opportunity, I think, to help teach people how to do this and to show them why they should do it. So there's education, there's a whole host of opportunities for us. But Mark, I agree with you completely.
John, question for you. So first of all, this is great. This is really good stuff. My question is around, and I think Mark's comment actually really helped too. I was wondering, how are companies doing this today? Are they doing this sort of thing? And it sounds like there's, we are going to need to challenge our customers of a new way of doing this and implementing this into their current workflows. But is it more so that do we have to, you know, educate our customers and say like, you know, and describe the value that this adds, or are they doing it today? And what are some of the you know, challenges that they have in a typical process like this?
So good question, Joe. And I think in many organizations, when we're talking to them about DevOps and we're talking to them about their CI/CD pipeline, at some level, and I think it depends upon somewhat on the maturity and somewhat on how they define DevOps. If assuming that they define the space of DevOps in a similar context of the way someone like Jez Humble would, which, you know, I think Jez is a pretty smart guy, and I think he gets it. I mean, heck, he wrote the book on continuous delivery. Jez will argue very strongly it's all about lean. It's all about these lean practices and principles. Now, that doesn't mean everybody's going to get to it at that kind of an academic level and appreciate it. But if they're doing this and they're focusing on their pipeline, they're focusing on how do they streamline in order to remove the bottlenecks, to remove the barriers to go faster. And in fact, it's the same thing that Gary Gruber will teach people when he helps them, you know, implement DevOps and transform to DevOps. As he says, focus on the pipeline. He uses that instead of the word value stream, but he focus on the pipeline and what it takes to ship. And so I think people are trying to do this. I think they're using spreadsheet, they're using Post-it notes. They've got all these different separated tools that makes it hard for them to do this. So they're trying to do this. Do they have the view to really see a change in how it impacts business value? Probably not. That's frankly, I think, the holy grail of this whole thing. But what they are looking at, though, is where are my bottlenecks? And they're focusing on their cycle time. And those are things that they are trying to do. And what we will be able to help them do in a significant way is to help them to start to see and visualize where those issues are. Let me go back a slide. You know, as we produce views like these two, if I were to look at a product team and how we're doing, it tells me as a member of the team where to go look and where to start to look at how do I reduce my cycle time. And this is the kind of graphic and visualization that will help dramatically. So there is interest, I think. I think people will latch on to elements of this and get it and want it. I really do.
Having had this conversation a couple of hundred times, I would say people don't do it. People, if there's a big issue, if something or if things continually get held up in, you know, testing or in whatever phase of it, and it's big enough to where they go, there's clearly an issue over here. We need to go fix that. And so if there's a monster issue and they see it, they'll go fix it. The issue is exactly what John said. They don't have visibility to anything. So what we're showing here and what we would show at version 1 is really the first visualizations of any of this stuff. So unless there is a big issue that they know takes forever to get through that part of the process, then they're not focused on it, because they're not focused on incremental improvements. You know, the whole concept of lean is to incrementally improve, right? They can't incrementally improve because they don't see where they can improve 10%, 20%, 15%. They can see if they need to improve 400% because something got stuck there for 3 weeks, right? But they can't see where they can incrementally improve. And then all of a sudden that system improves. And now they're developing and delivering faster by 3x or whatever it is.
Yeah, and Mark, you're right, because most organizations, most places I've been, and you know, because they don't have any visibility into it, it becomes a case of managing by crisis or firefighting. When there's a big problem, they go, okay, I got to go solve that, and which is why, you know, again, I'll go to Gary Gruber because I've done so many presentations with Gary, but anybody who's going to help someone build and establish their pipeline, typically one of the first things they're going to say is, okay, understand what are the steps in it and measure it. And for many organizations, they've never done that. And so you're right. It's not like people do this on a regular basis. In fact, it's probably a rarity where they do this. But this view that I'm showing right now is a view that will unlock the potential because they want to see this. This is information, if they had it, they would be able to take action from it.
And Mark, something I'm curious about. So we know that, for example, Forrester, Gartner, they're not necessarily creative agencies that are creating net new ideas. You know, they're research firms that they go and research. So some customers somewhere, some businesses are doing VSM, and Gartner and Forrester found those businesses doing that, and then now they're saying, "Hey, this thing exists." So they've done research. Somebody's doing it somewhere, but it sounds like maybe not the vast majority of customers. I think my question mark is: did you ever run into anyone who had read the analyst reports and asked about it? So maybe the vast majority were not doing it, but maybe they went to a Gartner conference or they read the report and said, "What are you doing with VSM? Do you ever get any inbound requests?"
So I think, and I could be wrong here, but I think the analysts got it from software vendors, and from a purely academic level, they went, "That's interesting." And then kind of backed into, "Okay, do you have any customers doing it?" Which at the time nobody really did, and now they do. But I think it was invented by the software vendors, and they looked at it and said, "That has real value. Let's dive deeper into that." Again, that's my guess because I hadn't seen anybody doing this on an incrementally improving this way before. So I don't know if that's the case, but that's how it kind of played out to me.
Well, Mark, I'll take I agree with you. I do agree with you. I think that's perhaps what sparked the analysts, and perhaps that's how it got started. But in a former life as a Lean Six Sigma practitioner, I've done value stream mapping of SDLC and SDLC processes in order to try to look at how do you streamline, how do you do this. I've actually tried to do this, and it's really hard to do. And frankly, and granted, this was 8 or 9 years ago. The lack of a tool or lack of a way to visualize or bring it together, it's really hard, because if you're going to try to really do this, just to think about the typical development lifecycle of capturing the data needed in order to create some sort of visualization of how things work. It's manual, labor intensive, takes a lot of time. And by the time you have it's one of these things that makes it for a very difficult exercise to understand where do you go and start to improve things. But
I agree. I think the one difference is if you're one of the big companies that embrace Six Sigma, where you measure and monitor everything, your GE or one of those Six Sigma companies, they probably did it. But there's a handful of those on Earth.
Totally agree. And that's why when you talk to someone who's either doing Six Sigma or Lean or the combination of the two, this will be very interesting to them, because this is something will play right into their wheelhouse.
And John, one other thing that I think is good for the team to note is, this is coverage in analysts. So like we've gotten coverage with Forrester before, this is extending our brand and our reach, and that will be helpful in the sales cycle the same way our previous analyst engagements have been. But even if customers are not interested in the entire package of VSM, there are component parts of this GitLab functionality that are still pretty compelling. So for example, business metrics is a feature that is available today. And even if they're not doing the full value stream mapping, Dan's created this great video that you can say, "Hey, check out this VSM video," and it'll show you the benefit of this one feature, something like adding custom business metrics to allow you to track how a merge request impacted sales on your e-commerce site. So I don't know, John, if you want to chat or your thoughts around like using component parts of this functionality, because this functionality is available today in GitLab.
Absolutely. No, I mean, that was the video I showed earlier where we walked through a canary deploy, and if you want the link, I can send you the link, or the link is also in the slides. So, but yeah, that demo video is available, and that feature and that capability is available today.
Yeah, so I think for the team, one way to use this is in the context of VSM. It sounds like from Mark, the feedback is maybe that's a tougher conversation to have. But I think these are still some helpful assets to illustrate some some value proposition of GitLab features, for example, like business metrics.
All right. Thank you very much. And we're at the half hour. We're at the end of the enablement. So been very good. Good interaction. Thank you so much for joining. We've been streaming live. So for those of you who are following along, check out GitLab and how we can help with value stream mapping, value stream management, and with business values. So we're excited. We're going places, and it's, join us and learn more. Thank you so much. We're going to end the webcast now. Have a great day, everyone.